Good evening, everyone. This is Naijha Wright Brown reporting for Jane Unchained News. I am so excited to introduce these two guests that we have on today. I've been looking forward to it. We're going to be talking about a lot of fitness and health stuff. So let's get started with some bios. I have Kayla Gorell. She is a certified plant-based health coach, author, and public speaker. She obtained certificates from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and E. Cornell's plant-based nutrition course. She is a certified yoga teacher and indoor cycling instructor. Kayla's book, More Plants Please, was published in 2017, and all the recipes are 100% plant-based, gluten-free, and contain no added sugar or oil. Kayla has inspired hundreds of people to make healthier eating choices through her social media platforms and has directly coached dozens via one-on-one coaching, food shopping trips, and cooking classes. She lives in Southern New Jersey, where she teaches yoga and cycle classes at a few different studios. She also now teaches virtually due to the pandemic, of course. Her goal for all her students and clients is to find the best versions of themselves. Thank you for joining us today, Kayla. I can't wait to talk to you. And then we have the founder of Fit Fathers, Kimatni Rawlins. He leads an extremely active lifestyle that includes competing in track meets, marathons, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, and herbathons. Is that herbathons? Herbalathlons. You gotta tell us about that, Kimatni. In addition to training private clients looking to make similar positive life changes, incorporating strength training, plyometrics, running, sprinting, boxing, and yoga into his own daily workouts, and opting for such family activities as cycling, hiking, and swimming. Rawlins, who is also a clean vegan, I hope so, believes that fitness and nutrition fuels positive health habits for himself and his family, and thrives on the motto, eat well, stay active, and energize your life. And I actually have a video to share of Kimatni.
Sweet.
Bear with me one moment.
I don't even remember what video I sent you.
I think today is important for fit fathers because, one, we need to be there for our children. Two, we're all getting younger, so we need to be as healthy as we can. And I've had too many friends go out of this world, and didn't know they had an element or illness. So it's important to stay in front of that, to stay preventative, go to the doctor, get your checkups, and eat healthy and exercise at the same time. So what you're doing here at Fit Fathers is amazing and is needed for every community in the world.
I think it's very important to think about men's health and give them a chance to put their health first sometimes and not be working themselves to the bone for their families to, be taking care of their health, exercising, spending time with their whole families.
Fit fathers need to work out so they could be super dads.
Oh, I saw a lot of energy. I see families here, children of all ages, mothers, fathers, just having a great time on such an important day. I think this event is truly marvelous. We don't have events like this where it brings out all the family together to be active, and it's just amazing. I love the energy.
It's a good positive thing for the fathers to be out here and the kids supporting the fathers while they're out here. It's my 6th year being here from the time it started, and I think it's a good cause and it's worthy. There's mothers there that have all kind of stuff goes on for mothers. Hardly anything for fathers. They don't promote it, they put it out there. But this is something that's been going on for 6 years and hope to see go on for many, many, many more years to come.
Today was fun seeing my dad work out and all the other fit fathers working out with their kids. And the fit fathers, like during the push-up contest, and all the women doing the plank contest and getting prizes if they won or not.
So we're Zico Coconut Water, and we're here today with Fit Fathers in 2019, celebrating Father's Day, because it's so important for our communities to be able to come outside, celebrate each other, interact with one another, and also stay healthy and hydrated while you're doing it. So it's hot in DC during the summer times. We all know that. We're sweating, and the best way to replenish your body is with the 5 essential electrolytes that we have in our coconut water. It keeps you hydrated all day long, and the potassium, similar to what's in a banana, that keeps that energy up all day. So we're here to make sure that the winners of the push-up competition can stay hydrated, and that our dads can really be able to celebrate their time with their families.
Fit Father's Day, I mean, it was good having a bond with my dad today, working out with him because we don't usually work out together. He always saying he wants to race me, but I don't think he's ready yet. But it was special bringing me here. I just try to beat him. You know, it's like competition for me to him. I look up to him. I just want to not like be like him, but like be better than him. Like he teaches me never back down from anything. So this bond, it was just good, and we just relax for the rest of the day until we take him out to dinner.
Because just having a father figure in these young males' life, me being a young father myself, just being active and being a role model to these young males is very pivotal and important. We're out here today. We were promoting Junior Wizards, promoting bobbleheads, and just trying to promote a sense of community out here. Just having people come out is just really great for our organization. We have a lot of different things coming up, so we hope you guys are looking forward to it.
Kimatni Rawlins, founder of Fit Fathers, and the 6th annual Fit Fathers Day celebration here in downtown Silver Spring, Montgomery County. Today was a beautiful day, very positive, very energetic, and a lot of enthusiasm. The reason we created this program is so dads can have the tools and the values needed to create and sustain a positive lifestyle that's focused on not only fitness, but nutrition as well, and strong mental stability. After Fit Father's Day, we want them to carry on the message and continue to make positive decisions, whether they're small or large, so they can change their lifestyle for the long term, where the kids grow up knowing that healthy eating is a key foundation of the household, that staying in sports not only exercises the body, but keeps them busy and focused, and also allows them more attention on their education, on their studies, on their academics. So today was a constellation of various fitness workouts. We had some health screenings. We had the Washington Wizards here. Zico's giving out coconut water. Very positive flow. We had Zumba today. And then we had a lifestyle car show from some of our key partners, VW, Mazda, Nissan, Chrysler. And the whole premise is that no matter what corporation, what segment of the industry you in, you still want to live a strong and healthy life. We still want to be there for our kids. We still want to enrich them with positive habits. So one of our simple messages is to lead by example so your child becomes the example. K-Raw, Fit Fathers, one love.
All right. And that was the 6th annual, and you got the 7th one coming up.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for joining us today, Kimatni. So let's get to the conversation. Kayla, starting with you. Your plant-based or vegan journey. How did you get started?
All right. I'll try and keep this short, but there are many in the journey, many moments of enlightenment. So I grew up in Jamaica, and I moved to the States, I think 14, 15 years ago. And one of my concerns when moving here, from Jamaica to South Jersey was, I'd always heard rumors that the food here is different than in the Caribbean. And there's all these chemicals like injected into the animals and things like that. So I kind of just made a decision. I was like, I think I just won't eat meat, to stay away from the antibiotics, the chemicals, and just keep my diet clean. So at that point I was vegetarian. And I struggled with my weight for a long time. People don't believe me now when I tell them. And it wasn't like I was severely overweight, but I carried like 15 to 20 pounds that I didn't need. So I then was like, well, I also want to get healthier and lose some weight, because I tried like every diet out there, the low carb, low fat, all of those fads. And even when I lost weight, I still didn't like how I looked, or I didn't have energy, or just something was off. So I started doing more research. I love to learn. So I'm always buying books and reading up on things and watching different documentaries. And I kept coming across information on eating healthier by having more plants in your diet. And at the time, I was also an avid runner and was training for a marathon. And unfortunately, I got injured after running the marathon. My goal was to qualify to run the Boston Marathon, which I did. But due to the injury, I wasn't actually able to go on to do that race. So it was a pelvic stress fracture. I had to stop doing all forms of physical activity for a month to really get a head start on the healing process. So of course I was a little bit depressed. I was missing out on my running club. I love exercising. It's not something I do because I have to, like I actually enjoy it. So that was tough too. And then of course in the back of my head, I'm like, you're going to gain all this weight now because you're not running and spinning anymore. So where did I find myself? In Barnes and Noble. And I was just looking for books to read to occupy the time. And I came across a book called The Beauty Detox Solution by Kimberly Snyder. And that book changed my life. Like that is what, after reading that book, I converted from vegetarian to vegan or 100% plant-based pretty much overnight. And what was really interesting is during that month of inactivity, by switching my diet, I actually lost weight. So I wasn't expending even close to the amount of calories I was before, because running and spin are very high calorie burning activities. Right. But I lost 15 pounds and I was like, oh, I'm onto something here. So I was really intrigued and began doing more research. I came across a China study, Forks Over Knives, and just a lot of in that plant-based realm. And then I was like, well, I have to help other people now because I have figured it out. And I felt bad for everyone else who was still like trying the low carb or drinking diet soda like I used to. So I was like, well, I want to help people, but they're not going to listen to me because I'm just Kayla. I need some kind of like credentials. And I didn't want to pursue a traditional nutrition degree or a dietitian because I know what they were going to teach was the standard American diet and the food pyramid from the USDA and all the stuff that we know now doesn't work.
Right.
So I completed, you're like, yep, I got it. I completed a plant-based nutrition course with eCornell and then did one with the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And it's so funny, like once you tell people you have a certification, then they're like, okay, I'll listen to you. And I
wonder why that is.
I started working.
You better get your questions in because they're here today.
So I started working with clients one-on-one and doing a bunch of different things. And what I found is some people either just weren't committed enough to find the time to meet with me or couldn't afford it. And I was like, I want to find a way to really help everyone. And while all of this was going on, I also was struggling with cooking at home because I would buy these vegan recipe books and then be completely overwhelmed because the recipes were just too fancy, too many steps, too many ingredients. I'm like, nobody has time for that.
Right.
So I would always be modifying and cutting down, like this is what's essential and I can put some salt, it will be good enough. And I would start sharing and posting pictures and all my friends were like, you should write a cookbook. And I was like, I don't know about that. So sure enough, I listened to their advice and I was like, okay, well, maybe I should write a cookbook that's easy to use. It can be like a starter book for people that want to go plant-based, but don't want to be going to 5 different stores to find the ingredients and be in the kitchen all day. So I, at the time I had a blog and I was like, I'm just going to start with the blog. I'm going to start pulling things from my blog into the book and those can be the chapters. I'll tell my story. And then I published this in 2017.
Let's see that. That's the More Plants Please book, everyone. And then we had a question from someone that asked, what was the name of the vegan book that you said transformed your life?
The Beauty Detox Solution by Kimberly Snyder.
I'll put that in the chat. The Beauty Detox Solution. Okay,
That's where I learned about green smoothies, which are a staple today in my diet. So that's my journey. I switched over probably 12 years ago. And I will admit, I'm not 100% perfect every day. Like at home, it's easy. And when I have control over my environment, but if I go to like a work event and I'm trying to find something to eat and they're like, well, it does have egg in it, I'm like, all right, whatever. If there's no other options, I will be fully transparent. But I would say 99.9% of the time, plant-based. And I would never go back. The weight loss was great, but the energy and just everything else that comes along with it. And then once you start learning about the environmental benefits, the ethical benefits for animals, there's just, to me, it's like the best way to fuel your body and support the world.
Thank you for that, Kayla. One great story, and we got 2 book references right now. So I want to get to Kimatni's story, and then we'll talk about how the book has how response been with the book. Kimatni, what was your journey like?
So I started 10 years ago, and it was pretty similar to Kayla. You know, I felt overweight. I used to be a football player at Georgia Tech, running back. And after college, you know, I continued to lift, but of course, you know, eating late, partying. I used to drink a lot of alcohol. I mean,
Oh my God, really?
5 or 6 Long Islands every time I went out. Like, I used
Okay.
to get wasted. Yeah.
Right.
And then you would eat late, and then you wake up late. And years of that sedentary lifestyle just took its toll. And I'm one of those type of people. There's really no medium for me. I'm either all the way left or all the way right. So I looked in the mirror and I was like, all right, it's time for a change, and I'm gonna start the change tomorrow. Like, there's no future date, you know. I'm gonna go on a detox in 2 weeks. Like,
Right.
when
Right.
a thought hit me, I react immediately, because that's the only way you can precipitate change. Because if you prolong it, then by the time that day comes, you're in a different mind state, and you convinced yourself that you're on a different journey now, and that could be totally opposite of the original intention. So I started, like Kayla, I started researching, you know, just dietary lifestyles, and plant-based just kept coming across my desk. And I was like, all right, let me delve into this. And I decided to run a marathon, and I wanted to run it on a plant-based diet. So I started reading books from like Scott Jurek, who's like a ultra marathoner. He runs like 100-mile races and vegan. And I was like, well, obviously it's possible. So maybe I have to reprogram everything I've learned since day one about food. And that's really the task, because if you don't convince your mind of the new change, then you're going to keep running into setbacks.
Right.
But once the brain knows that there's a new program, because you done educated it on the new lifestyle, then the physical part is simple. So same thing. I got my plant-based certification from Cornell. I'm also a writer and publisher, so I would actually start going to interview some of these doctors and physicians like Neil Barnard, T. Colin Campbell, um, and they all just had the same simple message: eat plants. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. And then when I read the China study, which showed the data over 10 years of plant-based Chinese dwellers in the country, opposed to those that ate more meat and dairy in the city, and the numbers were staggering. The percentages of chronic disease compared to those who ate plant-based, which was very minimal. I think it was like less than 3%.
Right.
So once I've started the journey, I started educating others as well. And like I said, I'm a writer. I would interview and write articles and start self-publishing. I started Fit Fathers as well along the journey, to give dads the tools needed to engage their family in a household that was ripe with, you know, cooking, dads doing the shopping, you know, more the matriarchal roles of the household opposed to the traditional roles.
Right.
And if the child sees that both parents, and this is granted, it is a 2-parent household, if they see both parents on the same path, then they can grow up with the learned habits, knowing that eating clean is is a positive message, opposed to having to reprogram yourself like I did when I was 35 years old,
Right,
because that's when
exactly.
it's very challenging.
Yes.
Um, and then you go into the deeper context of what plant-based eating is, and you start seeing that it's beneficial for the planet. When you start comparing the carbon the carbon footprint of animal-based eating in comparison to plant-based eating. In fact, is uh, factory farming emits more carbon dioxide than the entire auto industry globally.
Yes.
So
Yes.
and interesting enough, with COVID-19 and most people quarantining, they have seen a healing effect of the planet. So that's one
Yes.
aspect.
I've heard of
Yeah,
that. Yes, I've heard those stories. Yeah.
that's one aspect. Another aspect is, you know, lessening chronic disease. 7 of the top chronic diseases are caused by the foods we intake, mainly because of saturated fats and cholesterol. So you eliminate that, you increase your chances of longevity. And then three, of course, is respect for the animals. We are all sentient beings. We all have feelings and emotions, and none of us likes pain. And
No.
it's just really brutal what is done to these animals in order to for the majority of society to survive. So for
It's
me, it's total
unnecessary.
awareness.
Yeah.
Very, very unnecessary. It's and not only that, but this lifestyle, makes you more aware and caring for everything in general.
Yes.
Namaste is the calling card. Like, you're attracted to things that heal, things that breathe. Like, sometimes I'll just go out and take a walk in the woods and just look up and just breathe. And that lifestyle is kind of like that interconnected energy that we all have. I mean, it's that feeling, that aspiration. You can't find that nowhere else.
No, it's just a different type of lifestyle. And then when you mention that, I always use the phrase vegan soul. People, related to vegan soul food, the food that we serve here at the land of Kush. But it's no, like, everybody has this like compassionate soul that they need to deep down in and bring out. So to your point, once you learn more and you know more, then you can do better. And with the
Mhm.
understanding. And then I learned the global hunger aspect of it through a welfare world. I didn't realize that impact was, if we stop feeding these animals all this food, we'll have food for people that are hungry across the world. So it's just there's a lot to it. So I appreciate that. Um, a question to Kayla, your book, what has been the response to More Plants, Please? So it was 2017 that it came out. What was the response when it was released?
It was a very good response. I'm very fortunate to have a supportive community or network of friends, coworkers, things like that. So almost everyone I knew bought the book, and some people I think bought it just to be supportive.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love those friends. Where can they get it now?
And I think one of the best pieces of feedback I kept hearing when I sold them myself, like purchased them at the author discount, and
Okay.
kind of, almost like a peddler, like sold them myself. And I think at this point, I probably sold about 600 through that method. And then a few have been sold on Amazon and directly from the publisher's website.
Okay. So they can get it from Amazon and the publisher's website.
I don't think it's on Amazon anymore, but it's at the publisher's website. The best bet though is to get them directly from me, and I don't mind shipping them. So if people want to try it, they can contact me directly and I can mail it to them.
So through your IG.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to reach out to Kayla to get the book. So I'll put her IG back up there so everybody can see how to reach out to her to get More Plants, Please.
Yeah.
Right there.
So
Awesome.
so one of the best pieces of feedback was people were like, well, I opened up the book and started reading, and I could make a couple of the things without even having to go to the store. Like I already had the ingredients in my fridge or my pantry. And I'm like, yes, like that's what I wanted, for it to be an easy thing that you don't have to turn your life upside down to try and do or sustain, like just regular food put together differently, and realizing that your main meal, your sides can now become your main meal, because that's another thing. You're like, oh, I'm just eating a bunch of sides. And I'm like, to Kimatni's point, that's your mentality based on what is normal to you. And you kind of shift your thinking and your mindset, like somebody made that up. So we're making up and a new paradigm, a new narrative. And this is, you can eat this way and it's fine.
And it's important that you say that, because we can teach folks all we want about, oh, eat the plant-based, eat this, eat that, get fresh produce, but if they don't know what to do with it, then and then in this day and age, it has to be quick and efficient for some. If you have to spend 2 hours in the kitchen, they're probably not going to do it. That's why all these people are going out eating all this fast food and buying fast food for their family. So it has to be simplistic, delicious, and nutritious. I got a box yesterday from one of the gardens here in Park Heights. It's called Plantation Park Heights. And in that box, it had asparagus and mushrooms and kale and potatoes, all this great stuff. I made a breakfast. It was polenta with the mushrooms, the spinach, and the red peppers. And it was like the really quickest thing and the healthiest thing that I could do. So it has to be easy, delicious, and nutritious.
And one more thing real quick too is there's baked goods in there, and everyone's like, how are you gonna have baked goods without added sugar? And dates solve all your problems. Just blend up. And they have a very neutral sweetness, because the issue I was running into, I would sweeten everything with bananas. And then everyone's like, well, it tastes like banana. And if you don't like bananas, then that's a problem. But dates have like a flavor. They're just sweet.
I love dates.
Obviously they have lots of nutrients. So that is the secret to baking without added sugar.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, because my husband cooks with a lot of dates too. So just natural. Kimatni, talk to us about the state of men's health. It is Men's Health Month. I want you to touch on that and why the Fit Fathers celebration is so important. Because men don't go get their checkups regularly like women do. So we need to talk about that.
Men don't do a lot of things they should be doing. And it's just this inferiority complex that that
inferiority about their health.
Yes, that's too sensitive. You're not manly enough. For example, I just the top of the year, I got my colonoscopy, and especially when they were saying actually the data was wrong, like African Americans should get it in their 40s.
Right. And if in case people don't know what that is, can you explain what the colonoscopy is?
Yeah, it's a procedure where they analyze your colon to make sure that you don't have any polyps, and to make sure that they don't see any other type of cancerous tissue. And if they do discover it, the telescope can cut the polyps off immediately. They send it through the lab for biopsy, to ascertain that it's, nothing, whether it's significant or insignificant. So, they put you to sleep, and, you wake up, you feel fine, nothing happened, you wasn't disrespected, but, I felt much better knowing that, I was polyp free.
Right.
And,
I don't think men like bad news. I think that's what it is. Do you think that's what it is?
That is true as well. Because that was me in my 20s and 30s. You don't want to hear any negative bad news, but the thing is that if you sit on it and it could have been prevented, then that could be very detrimental. And I know a lot of people who have passed away because, they sat on an opportunity to be aware of something that could have been handled very simply beforehand. So Men's Health Month and Fit Father's Day, it brings awareness that, we have to be more proactive about our health concerns. There's nothing wrong with going to get a checkup or have your prostate exam Because if your PSA is low, then there's things you can do to increase it. I mean, if the PSA is high, there's things to balance it off, like eating more tomatoes, with have lycopene in them, and which are antioxidants that specifically fight prostate and breast cancer cells. So I want men to become more comfortable with being healthy, with knowing that their numbers are great. When I went to get my cholesterol checked, my doctor's always like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I don't eat meat. And it's like, wow, your LEL is like 55. I was like, yeah, as it should be. And he's just so amazed. So here, my doctor is asking me for health tips, to the point where I had to switch out to a plant-based doctor because I was like, I need someone telling me what's going on, opposed to vice versa.
Right. Don't try to get the schooling off of you. He has to send you a check, right? Because they don't get a lot of nutrition training, from
Not
my
at all.
understanding.
No.
Yeah.
So Fit Father's Day is not only about fitness; it's about overall wellness too, and helping gentlemen understand, why these numbers are so important. And if they see that other people are doing it, like I tell the young kids that I mentor, they're high school and college athletes. I'm like, is there anything, less than a man about me? And they're like, no, so I'm like, I cook, I do most of the shopping, my wife works pretty long hours, and I enjoy going to Roots Market or Mom's Market and picking out my favorite organic fruits and vegetables, and tapping into new recipes that I discovered or things I just make up. That's the thing when you're a vegan. You can throw anything together.
You sound like my husband. My husband does the same thing. Like he shops and gets all the stuff, and then he cooks the stuff, and he just loves to cook. Like I'm just getting back in. I like to cook. I just don't like the bulk cook. I like this big major cooking.
Well, you got a restaurant, so yeah.
Yeah, we have a restaurant, but I don't always eat in the restaurant every day. You know what I'm saying? I like to eat different things and make different things. But that's one thing he likes to do. He likes to go and get all the fresh produce and make all these different dishes. So, I'm spoiled that way, but I do like to make my own stuff too. So
like Sunday I woke up and I was about to go work out, and then I looked in the fridge and I was like, man, we gotta cook all these vegetables that's about to spoil.
Yeah, I'm like that too. You don't want anything to go to waste.
I literally made 4 dishes within the hour just to have them prepped for later that
Right.
Lisa woke up and she was like, oh, this is for me? I was like, no, it's for us.
I was up roasting vegetables the other night because I didn't want them to go to waste. It was just so like mushrooms and potatoes and asparagus, like all this stuff that I didn't want to go to waste. But thank you for that, because that's definitely an important message about the men's health. What do you feel, both of you, about the state of the African American vegan plant-based movement? Has it grown? Where are we at? Is there more work to do? What are your thoughts about what's happening in that space?
I guess I'll start. I think it's definitely improving, and I'm seeing, not maybe firsthand, but seeing more things in the media, in the news, restaurants, and so on. And I know from certain cultures, it is like Caribbean cultures, there are aspects of plant-based eating that have just always been there. But I do think there is still a lot of work to be done. There is, culturally and socially, people have a hard time of letting go of what they think is normal or how they should eat, or their mom's cooking and the recipes passed down from generation to generation. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done. And the mindset, and I'm sure you two can relate to this, people will say, well, diabetes runs in my family, or heart disease runs in my family, so it's just one of those things that's not going to make a difference. And I always say to them, what runs in your family is traditions and recipes and ways of preparing food, because that's such a huge part of a family culture.
Right.
And, that's what is keeping the trend and the pattern going, not just some random gene that you think is dictating your whole life and your wellness. So I think there still needs to be more education and stuff out there. And that's another reason why I wanted to write a book. And I'm like, I need to be on the cover, because I want people to see a Black person
Yes.
promoting this, because if you Google vegan now or plant-based eating, you already know what images are going to come up.
Right.
To be able to relate to somebody and say, oh, okay, I guess that isn't that weird, or it's not that bad or like goofy.
Yeah, I have that conversation all the time on the show, and that's really the focus of the segment. What do you have to say about that, Kimatni?
In my perspective, I'm seeing the numbers increase. Maybe it's like the places I travel, or the environment. That
Where's the
I
places
network
that you
in.
travel?
Like Ethiopia,
Okay. Oh, I love
Jamaica.
Ethiopian food. Like they're like
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
like I love their food.
Yeah, for sure. Like, or that same Ethiopian trip, I went to Kenya, and there was so many vegan restaurants, and I went in this one a church has, and literally for $5, you can get like 2 big plates, and people were coming in all day um, while I was there, and it was just amazing, because in America, African Americans only make up 13% of the population. So of
Right.
course, the numbers of anything we do are going to be minuscule unless you see us congregate. So, I used to have these these vegan brunches, where like 20 of us get together and just have a good time and chat, and
I
they'll bring a
remember
vegan
that.
friend.
Yeah, you used
Yeah,
to go to
yeah,
Evolve a lot and everything. I remember those.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
hadn't been to
so
one, but I remember you promoting them.
yeah, so like for me, everywhere I go, because everything I do is about plant-based and veganism, I see more and more of us, and it's just fascinating to the point where people in the other industry that I'm in, automotive, which consists of mainly white corporate Americans, are coming to me for advice. Like, hey, me and the wife want to go vegan. What advice do you have? So they look
Nice.
to me opposed to like some of the other mainstream non-black vegans. So it feels really good that our message can resonate. And I think that's because the way that we deliver the message, what I'm saying? It's not like a medical form or doctor form or research form that may scare some people off. We're just coming up from a basic human holistic form of why you should be eating, whole food, plant foods, and the energy that is emitted from that, as well as the positive vibrations that you get from this lifestyle in general.
Thank you for that. I want to take a moment to shout out Jane and Shane News. Thank you for giving us this platform to have this discussion, allowing us to have this discussion. You want to subscribe to NaijhaSpeaks.com. This segment is going to be available on that site tomorrow. It's also going to be available for replay on Jane and Shane News' Facebook, The Land of Kush, Black Vegetarian Society of Maryland, and Vegan Soul Fest Facebook pages. So this will be, you can catch the replay, you can share it with your friends if they weren't able to attend. Fit Fathers, June 21st, this Sunday, Father's Day. You want to go to fitfathers.com to find out more information about what's going to take place at the event this Sunday. Also, download the African American Vegan Starter Guide if you haven't, or tell a friend to do so. It was produced by the fabulous Tracy McCurder for us, by us. My next question is going to be plant-based versus vegan, and healthy versus unhealthy, and gluten-free, not gluten-free, clean eating, not clean eating. Let's have that conversation. You see all of that. Who wants to start?
All right, I'll go ahead. So there's many ways to do plant-based eating wrong, if depending on what your goals are. So if you're someone that is like, well, it's all about the animals, and as long as I'm not contributing to the harm of an animal, then I don't care what I put in my body. That's not the best approach to take, because now that I guess the people in charge of the economy or whatever have realized that there is a viable, profitable market for plant-based foods, there is so much stuff out there, like the fake meats, the fake cheeses, the stuff that's loaded up with sugar to the point where it's not even real food. You're like reading the list of ingredients. You're like, what is this? So my philosophy has always been to eat real foods. And you know, if for those of you listening, if you haven't heard the term whole foods plant-based, that's really the goal, is to eat minimally processed or unprocessed foods as close as possible to their natural source that you can actually recognize. Like I could see that plant being pulled out of the ground or that apple being picked off a tree. That's what you're going for. And I know it's not realistic to have everything be straight from the earth to your mouth, but you can definitely, there's a lot of in between that is still healthy and still minimally processed, still clean. So I would say don't try to, if you're on this journey of giving up animal foods, don't try to find the vegan alternative to it. The veggie burger is not going to taste like a Big Mac or a hamburger, but it can still taste good. It's just going to taste like its own thing. So you almost have to, you know, like have that mindset, like it's not going to taste like a cheeseburger, but it's still going to taste good. It's just different, still good. And then same thing with, you know, whatever other replacements you're making, get the real version of the food. And instead of trying to find the vegan version of a food that's an animal food that everyone knows, is like, you're not going to have a vegan hot dog taste like a regular hot dog. And then as far as gluten-free, I think that's a very personal choice. For me personally, the reason why I try to do as much gluten-free as possible is even after I switched vegan and eating super clean, I still had certain issues with my skin. I would get like very dry skin and flakes in my scalp. And I tried medicated shampoos, prescription shampoos, nothing worked. I'm like, I can't get rid of this. And in doing all my research, I was like, well, the only thing I haven't tried is eliminating gluten. And that seems to pop up as randomly affecting people. So I went gluten-free for 2 weeks straight and it cleared up after like a decade of having this embarrassing issue. Like I couldn't wear black. It was awful. And every time I go off of it too much, the flakes come back. So I haven't any kind of diagnosis. I definitely don't have celiac or anything severe, but I have noticed that when I cut back significantly or completely eliminate gluten from my diet, that my skin looks much better. My scalp, everything is healthier. So that does make it harder because trying to eat whole food, plant-based and gluten-free is a lot going on, but it can totally be done, especially if you eat most of your meals at home.
Thank you for that, Kayla. Yeah, that definitely is very important to understand how your body responds to things that you put into it. Very, very important. I love beans, but I don't eat a lot of beans because I know the response that it has on my system. So I have to do that in moderation. Now, legumes I can eat. Chickpeas, you know, aren't they don't tear me up as much. But being a rice and beans person, I just got to be conscious of that. What do you have to say, Kimatni, about this whole clean eating? Because you said you're clean vegan, and what is your take on that?
Well, yeah, I'm about to go eat some lima beans and millet when we're
Oh
done.
yeah,
So,
lima beans are good. They're awesome.
slice some avocados on top, some spinach
Oh,
on the side.
avocados, a superfood. Yes.
Yeah. As close to one ingredient foods as you can, I'm with Kayla spot on. I don't want to see anything with a bunch of ingredients on the labels. And that's one thing that we typically don't do when we shop. We don't read the labels. That's something that I've learned through the Cornell class. Just understanding what some of these ingredients are and what GMOs are and some of the binding materials that they use in these foods. So yeah, I want to eliminate all of that. So a lot of vegetables, a lot of greens, a lot of whole grains. So we eat I'll cook like millet, quinoa, wheat berries, brown rice.
Yes.
Nothing white, nothing enriched. Whether it's white bread, we try to do the sprouted breads.
Right.
And then of course, I have no issue with beans, so I eat all type of beans. We just make sure we soak them. Llamas are my favorite. We make lentil sloppy joes, for example.
That sounds
cauliflower wings.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we
You were
don't
making
do
cauliflower wings before they were a thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Huh?
it just sounds good.
Oh,
Cauliflower
yeah,
wings.
yeah.
Yeah.
We jumped on it early, and it's always funny, like Kayla said, you try to make a vegan version of a previous food, and people's like, "Whoa, if it's a wing and it's not vegan," and I'm like, maybe I just call it something else. You know what I mean?
Well,
Cauliflower chunks, whatever.
that brings me to my next question. So this is an easy one. How do you respond? Because we get it all the time here. How do you respond when people tell you, well, vegan food, veggie food is not real food. You have to be eating animal flesh in order to get your nutrition and it to be considered food or an entree. How do you respond to that?
Well,
Go ahead.
most people, they will convince themselves otherwise. If they're set on eating meat, no matter what you, counter with, whatever dietary staple it is, you're not going to satisfy them. So I kind of stopped debating with meat eaters because it's like a dead end. It's pointless. I mean, I used to be a carnivore myself, so
Right.
I'm an example. I use myself as a case study, and now I am not. Now I actually crave for rice and beans. I got like once you change your palate, once your taste buds adjust to the new regimen, then it's going to flow, and you're not even going to miss the prior food. So like you said, the way you season your foods, the ingredients you choose, I mean, you can be totally satiated with any type of plant-based food. I have never had an issue whatsoever.
Kayla, I know you got some stuff to say.
Yeah. So if it's someone that
It's
is
annoying to me.
someone that's hard set on debating and proving why they need to have meat, and then, well, if I don't eat meat, all these things happen, then it is kind of a futile conversation at that point. They've already made up their mind. But if it's someone that really is curious and is asking questions and wants to know how it works, I give them, there's like some basic go-tos I have. Dairy is a big thing because in my experience, people are like, well, I can give up the meat. I don't really like red meat that much anyway. But the dairy, like I love my cheese and my yogurt and so on. And I give them the analogy of in nature, no other mammal drinks milk after infancy, and they definitely don't drink the milk of another animal. And when you say that, like it hits people and they're like,
Right.
yeah, that is true. Like that makes sense. And then I, will sometimes go into the acidity of meat and how it affects the pH in your body. And just giving examples of animals that are very strong and large animals that are plant-based animals like the rhino or an elephant or a horse. So once you give them like very easy analogies or examples of things that they can immediately connect to instead of all the statistics and the science and the big words, that at least gets them thinking in that moment. And then to Kimatni's point, I use myself as an example. So, people will say, well, I'm worried about the carbs and I'm going to gain weight. And I was like, if you only knew how many carbs I eat, I don't track like grams or anything like that. But if I had to guess, I probably eat 600 grams of carbs a day between oatmeal, brown rice, fruits. I don't even keep track of fruits. Like I'll eat 4 bananas a day sometimes if I want to. And, people will be like, well, I heard bananas make you fat because they have too many carbs. And I'm like, well, look at me. And so then they start to be like, okay, well, she has a point. She practices what she preaches. She's not overweight. She doesn't have to count calories or deprive herself. Because that's the other thing. People are like, they feel bad for you. They're like, oh my gosh, like, how do you stick with that? Like you're forcing it. And I'm like, oh, I love the way I eat. I crave salad. There's vegetables I don't like and I don't eat them. I don't like eggplant. So you will not see me eating eggplant. So I'm not forcing things down my throat because for the sake of health. Like I really enjoy eating this way. So I think a combination of all those things helps to start shifting people's mindset. But yeah, if they want to debate for days about why they need meat and pull up all these, like you can find proof of anything that you want to, any argument you want to.
Yeah.
You can Google it, and I'm sure there's studies out there that show that soda is good for you. So if they're on that path, go ahead. I'm not going to waste my energy.
And just to make a quick point, so everyone totally understands, there is a succinct difference between the simple carbs and the complex carbs. And, that's where we get into that debate where carbs aren't good. But these are the simple carbs, the sugars, the white foods. These are foods that break down the glucose rather quickly and spikes your blood sugar. Whereas complex carbs, the fruits, the vegetables, the whole grains, release the sugars in increments, so you don't get that high spike. And I think that's the difference, because I eat more complex carbs than anything else. And all foods have protein in them, so you don't have to go searching for the protein.
I'm glad you said that, because we got
greens
somebody
are 50%. Yeah,
right
I see
here.
her question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
greens are 50% protein, oats are 18% protein. The body will take all the aminos that you have ingested through the day and aggregate it to the missing proteins, to the missing aminos needed for a complete protein. So you never have to worry about that. But if you do, beans are a complete protein, tofu, tempeh, quinoa, all complete proteins, hummus, etc., etc.
Thank you for that, because that's the number one question about the protein, and I've never found a friend that died because they didn't have any protein. So, but that's the number one question. I say it's what fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds. Like, that's food. I don't know. I mean, when you eat collard greens, that's food without the smoked turkey neck and all that stuff in it. It's food. It's just the way that you season it. What is your response to or how do you feel about what's happening in this country with the social and food justice? So we do have food apartheid issues, we do have food deserts, and we have accessibility issues. What are your thoughts, and what would you recommend to folks that are in these conditions? So it's easy for us to say, hey, we want you to eat better, but if they can't get to the supermarket because the supermarket is so far, what do we recommend? We have the community gardens and things like that. What are your thoughts? It's a big issue.
Oh,
that's a hard one, right?
You want to jump in?
I'll go ahead. You probably have more experience in this area, and it's definitely sad that in some parts of, and I'll just use New Jersey as an example, people cannot get to fresh food. And I think it's one of those things where if there's a will, there's a way. So maybe it needs to start with the people supplying the food. Like if they can make an effort to get some fresh produce into their stores in some way, shape, or form, just test it out. And if it sells and people are buying it and liking it, then they can find a way to get more of it for people to have it available. Because if you have, like a single parent household and someone's working 2 jobs and they have kids and they're trying to balance everything, of course they're going to grab what's quick and easy. And another thing that could help is there are some, as much as it might pain me to say this, there are some fast food or semi-fast food restaurants that do, if you really make an effort, you can find something there to eat, whether it's at Chipotle or somewhere that has like a veggie burger. It might not be the perfect homemade veggie burger that's super clean, but it's a start. And, dollars speak. So if you start buying more of these things, people will start selling more, because it's at the end of the day, it's all about what will sell and what will make a profit. You can even order Domino's. You can get Domino's pizza with no cheese and have veggie toppings.
Veggies, yes.
I've done that before.
Yes.
So there's ways to do it, and it might be things that people aren't thinking of or thinking outside the box. So I would love to connect with people that do have those struggles and to give them some of these pointers and tips, because it's not impossible. It's challenging, but it's not impossible.
Thank you for that, Kayla.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to my man Marcus, because my wife is half Japanese, and we go to Japan every other year.
Is that Marcus right there?
Yeah. So the Japanese purple sweet potato, I eat one of those a day. And that potato is the staple food of the Japanese Okinawans, who are the most lived population in the world. So they have
I've been to Okinawa, yeah.
They have
the
the
island.
most centurions of anywhere else, and their staple food is the Japanese purple sweet potato, because it's full of antioxidants. So I want to give a shout out to Marcus for that. I think I'm gonna go cook me up one too.
What do you have to say about the social and food justice issues and food accessibility and things like that? Recommendations for folks in those conditions.
Yeah, I have to delve into that a little bit more on the research side.
This is a very
I know
serious
for
issue. Yeah.
yeah, I know for example, like right now with COVID-19, like Montgomery County, we have a partnership with them to bring in more fresh produce to the residents of the county because the Black residents here have higher cases of COVID-19.
Oh
And what
wow.
they're
Okay.
saying is
Yep.
that people really they're not really eating a lot of fruits and vegetables.
Right.
So they've partnered with a bunch of local farms to bring in these foods, and we're doing drive-through pickups every weekend at the churches and the schools. And this is something that we're going to do throughout the summer. Um, and we're all coming together and using our marketing efforts to make sure that the residents know that this is readily available, and it's free right now since it's government funded. But I hope that this can matriculate down into like the norm for like inner city communities. I grew up in Camden, New Jersey, where me and moms walked miles and miles, to the local store just to get food, and there was rarely any produce there. It was mostly like frozen steaks and cheap meats. Um,
Yes.
so it's something that I'm gonna be delving into more. I don't really have all the answers right now, um, but I do suggest that people tap into the resources of their county, which is something that we rarely ever do because there's more programs out there that we think, and they're actually overstocked, and they're needing residents to come and pick up these resources.
Thank you for mentioning that. Absolutely. We're down to our last few minutes. Again, I wanted to let everybody know, the viewers, subscribe to Naijha Speaks. Share this with your friends so they can catch the replay and find out about these lovely guests. June 21st, Father's Day, is the 7th annual Fit Father's Day celebration. Go to fitfathersday.com to find out more, and download the African American Vegan Starter Guide.com by Tracy McQuirter, for us, by us. Children and vegan lifestyle and raising children. Any special tips for those parents that have picky eaters? Like my daughter is really picky. What would you recommend?
I want to just give a shout out to Kayla because she's also going to be the spin instructor for Fit Father's Day as well. So she's
awesome. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I have two daughters, and my youngest, who's 14 now, I think when we converted to veganism, she was about 4. And right now, she is the quickest, and her coaches say the strongest athlete in the school. She plays 3 different sports, and she's like plug and play. It doesn't matter what sport. I taught her like all the basics of soccer, volleyball, basketball, and she understands that we eat cruciferous green vegetables to get the calcium, to get the iron, to get all the vitamins and minerals so she can be strong and energetic. She never gets tired. She'll go to soccer practice and then go to a volleyball match on the same day, like
nice.
6 hours of sports, and it's like still ticking. So she kind of absorbed the information and ran with it. My oldest daughter, she's vegetarian now, and she stuck with it until she got to high school, and then she let the other kids pollute her mind. But that happens, and that's the thing when kids get around their colleagues. But they've never had a problem, growing up. We made smoothies growing up. They got their favorite restaurants, whether it's Great Sage, or
I love Great Sage.
when we're in Baltimore, we always stop by Land of Kush, but we're rarely in Baltimore. But when we are, I will pick up food for them because they still love mac and cheese, whether it's vegan or not. So,
Kayla, any thoughts?
I have a 3-year-old, and my husband is not plant-based. He's not on board. His diet has improved significantly since we've met.
That's another show.
Come on, John.
So it's a struggle because the mother-in-law also has their own like ways of doing things. But she drinks organic soy milk. She loves it. When I stopped breastfeeding, we switched over to that. So at least he sticks with the plan with that. And she, right now, I would say she's vegetarian. So she does have some dairy here and there, or a Chips Ahoy cookie that he brings in the house. But as she gets older, I'm going to educate her because I want her to be plant-based because she sees the benefits and understands it, not because it's being forced down her throat. And in the meantime, I'll just keep sneaking vegetables into things and leading by example, because at this age they want to do everything mommy's doing. So I'm going to ride that train
Right.
as I can.
Right.
Yeah.
And any special last words before we end this broadcast? Anything that you think you need to share with the viewers? Yes, thank you, Lizette. I'm glad you and your Great Sage is awesome. You got to get down there. When I'm in that area in Clarksville, I always go to Great Sage. So absolutely. But anything that you want to share with the viewers that you feel is important that you don't want overlooked or missed?
No, basically just surround yourself with like minds, other outliers who made the choice because they're going to make your decision easier. Commingle with people that respect your decisions. So if you go out on dinner with friends that for that week they can choose plant-based opposed to forcing you to eat at a steakhouse and choosing just the baked potato.
There's so many options now.
Yes, too many. You go to New York or LA, it's like too many options. And then travel to places that are plant-based friendly. We was in Indonesia and like everything was like mainly plant-based. When I go to Jamaica, I love their ital, and that's where Kayla's from. So places who really respect the culture and won't look at you as a kind of like an outsider, but more of someone that leads and not follows because you made this decision to be the best possible version of you.
Thank you for that. Make sure you're following Kimatni at Fit Fathers on IG and Facebook. Kayla, any last words?
I would say do your research and experiment on yourself, because just like how I can tell you what to eat and what to do, so can someone else. So do your research, read the book, educate yourself so that when you're making this decision, it's your decision and you're not being influenced by all these different people, because then you could go either way. So that would be my advice.
Thank you again for joining us this evening and spending time in this discussion. Thank you again, Jane Unchained News, for allowing us this platform to have this conversation. Subscribe to NaijhaSpeaks.com. June 21st, Fit Father's Day celebration. Go to fitfathersday.com and download the African American Vegan Starter Guide at African American Vegan Starter Guide.com. Thank you. Enjoy. Until we meet again, peace and blessings. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.